everybody and welcome back to a new video on my channel. My name is Zoe, I'm 23. I recently graduated from college back in May from Villanova University, and now I am working a good old corporate America job and making videos in my free time. So if that sounds interesting to you, then make sure to subscribe. But today I'm going to be talking through how I plan my entire life. The new year is right around the corner. It's gonna come so soon, and so I figured I would get this video up for you guys so you can get some ideas and inspiration for how you might want to plan your year next year. These are just some things that work for me. I have tried out so many different planning styles, and these are the ones that are currently working really well for me, but I will bet you anything that in 6 months I will change again. Sometimes a little change is needed to just keep me motivated. So if you do enjoy this video, then make sure to give it a like and leave me a comment down below talking about how you plan your life, because I'm always really interested to hear all of that. And without further ado, let's get on with the video. So I currently use 3 different tools. I use my bullet journal, I use a digital planner on my iPad, and I use Notion. Let's start by talking about my bullet journal. So my bullet journal is my primary form of how I keep my life in order. If you've been around my channel for a while now, then you would know that I used to do a lot of bullet journaling, and I used to make the spreads all pretty and fancy. And I even have my bullet journal right here, and I can just show you a few of the pages that I used to do. So like, this is my 3rd bullet journal, this one. So I don't currently have my other 2 with me, but you can see that I would go a lot more all out than I currently do. You know, big fancy spreads, which I still love doing. But I found that in order for me to really make use of the bullet journal, I had to decide whether this was going to be an artistic thing or a functional thing. So if I have one tip for you for bullet journaling, is keep it simple. If you have a lot of time and you feel like doing the artistic stuff is what you want, then by all means, go for it. I wish I had the time and the patience to do that all the time. But what I found was once I started making it a little bit more fancy, once I started adding all of these artistic elements to it, I didn't want to have simple pages that were just like jotted down notes, because I felt like it ruined the aesthetic of the whole thing. And maybe that's just a me thing, maybe you are better at balancing those 2 things than I am, but I just find that it needs to be one or the other. It is either a memory journal and an artist journal, or it is a planner and it's functional. I was basically trying to combine this cute little artistic but time-consuming hobby with a rather chaotic life, and it just wasn't balancing out. So I took a break from this bullet journal to use a digital bullet journal for a while, which I will talk about a little bit more later in the video. But basically that allows more flexibility. I felt like I could be a little bit more hurried with it because I had a lot more items that I could use on there to make it look nicer, and if I messed up, it didn't matter. But there is something that I love about writing my thoughts down on a piece of paper. It just like sticks in my head so much better. I also love that I can flip through my bullet journal and like see what I've accomplished, and it's a lot easier to do that, I feel like, than with a digital journal. Those are my pros and cons and thoughts on the bullet journal, so now I'm going to actually show you my bullet journal. Every month I really only have 2 spreads at a time. First of all, I just have my monthly spread where I just have a basic calendar and I put in like general items like when I'm going to be traveling, flights, when I'm going to be in the office, all of that kind of thing. And then on the other side I have my casual magic page. And I've talked about this a little bit before, but I got this idea years and years ago from Unjaded Jade. Every single day there are so many little moments that I just want to capture and appreciate more, and that is more what I use this for. So like, for example, one of these is leaves blowing across the tennis court, or rows of Christmas decor and home goods. Little moments that I feel very grateful to experience, but I just find that this helps to ground me. And everyone always says you need to appreciate the little moments in life, and I feel like having this and just picking out one thing a day helps me to just notice all of those little things a little bit more. My second spread is my like weekly spread, so I remake this spread each week. I have an overview side of the page, which is what I actually draw out every week. And in the top, I just have a calendar so I can mark what week it is. I have an at a glance on the side so that I can write down important appointments or maybe dance classes, just general simple plans that I may have for a particular day. And then I have my workout schedule, so I like to put in and plan out my workouts every single week. This just helps me to hold myself accountable. I feel like sometimes when I don't want to work out, the last thing I want to think of is thinking of which workout I have to do. So having this just lets me know exactly what I need to do every day. Sometimes I change them up, like if I feel like I need to listen to my body and whatever I wrote down was not what I need to do at the minute, but for the most part this just helps me to stay on top of my workouts. And I also have a habit tracker where I just track a few of my more important habits, and I also usually track my mood as well. At the bottom I have my meal planner. I'm a big proponent of meal planning. I feel like it just helps me to waste a lot less food and also save money because I'm only buying food that I actually am going to eat. It stops the choice paralysis of, oh my gosh, what am I gonna make? I already know, I don't have to think about it. On the other side of the spread, I just have a brain dump, and I literally will just put anything here. So at the bottom I have a bit of a content calendar thing, which is something I still kind of work out. I've done it like once or twice in the bullet journal. Sometimes I just do a list. Sometimes I will do this like grid that I have here, and then I usually have a whole list of to-dos that I need to get done, and then I'll just have like maybe one or two other spots where maybe I will do a little doodle, or I will just write out some of my thoughts, or maybe do a more intense to-do list for a particular day of the week. And that is the peek into my bullet journal. Also, another tip is I always keep my pen attached to my bullet journal so that it is there whenever I need it, and it's just easier to jot things down. So the second tool that I use is my iPad. Like I said, I've gone back and forth as to whether I prefer digital planning or physical planning. Right now, I'm in a little bit more of a physical planning era, so my digital planning is a little bit less than it has been in the past, but I still do use it. The things I love about digital planning is that it is super easy to change things whenever plans change, or if you make a mistake, if you put the wrong date in there, it's so easy to just circle it and move it to a new spot. And the second thing I love about it is that it syncs on all of my devices, which I'm always gonna have my phone on me so I can always see what I have in my planner at that time. So I actually use this planner more for my long-term planning. So as you saw in my bullet journal, I don't have a lot of room on my monthly spread that I have in there, and then I only really go into detail on my weekly spreads. And so I use this digital planner to plan much further in advance, months in advance, little things that come up. I also only tend to have the next week's weekly spread in my bullet journal, but I like to plan my meals for the next 2 weeks at a time because I try to grocery shop for 2 weeks at a time. So I always do my like base meal planning on my iPad, and then I will transfer it over to my bullet journal. Like I said, I just like having that in there and thinking about it when I'm writing it down. But this way I am able to make sure I'm buying all of my groceries that I will need. I do also occasionally put big events into my Apple Calendar as well, and I can always look at that. But for the most part, I prefer to write things down at the minute. Sometimes I go back and forth again with the Apple Calendar, the Google Calendar, that whole thing, but right now I'm in more of a I want to write this down kind of kick. So the final tool that I use to plan out my entire life is Notion. I am sure that you have heard of Notion. I did a tour of my Notion workspace a couple of years ago. I do plan on doing an updated one because it has changed quite a bit, because at that point I was using Notion like for everything, for like my daily planner, my monthly, everything was in Notion, and I don't do that so much anymore. My main focus in terms of planning my life in Notion is goal setting. I love doing my goals in Notion. The best part about Notion is that it can do like that calendar format, or it can do a checklist or a database, but then you can go in and write so much more information about it, and it's so easy to navigate. It is so flexible, but it's so easy to use once you get the hang of it. I know that there is like a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get past that, like, you're golden. And I love the way that everything connects to each other and how you can link things in different areas so you can reference them no matter where you are. I don't know, my brain just loves having that kind of like planning puzzle to put together. So I have lots and lots of pages in Notion, some that I use a lot more than others, and some, like I said, I go in cycles. Sometimes I'll use it a lot, sometimes I won't use it a lot. I have things like all of my recipes are in Notion, and sometimes I'll do my meal planning in there, or I'll reference it to look at a list of meals that I tend to make on a regular basis just to give me inspiration. I do pretty much all of my content tracking and planning in Notion. I will make sure that I'm keeping all of my notes for all of my ideas in Notion, and then keeping track of like music that I use that I have to credit, or specific things that I want to do with each video, scripts, all of that stuff is in Notion. I'm literally using Notion right now to talk to you guys about my planning methods. I use it to plan out my trips. So I feel like Notion for me is kind of the catch-all for all of those things that don't quite fit in with like day-to-day life. It's all of those bigger ideas or things that might just need a few more details is where I really implement and use Notion. But what I use most regularly, and what you guys probably would have already seen in my monthly reset videos, is my monthly and yearly goal pages. At the beginning of the year, I laid out all of my goals into Notion, and then from there I broke down all of those goals into slightly more specific or short-term goals. And then from there, I separated all of those into first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter for the whole year. And now whenever I go in and I do my monthly pages, I have that database in there. I can filter based off of the quarter that it is, and I can look at the goals that I had set and that I said I would do at that time in the year. Whenever I do my monthly reset, I break those down even further and I make them into weekly tasks. By doing this, I am able to take my lofty, huge, like yearly goal and break it down into a week by week item. This just really holds me so accountable, and it means that I am not losing sight of those goals like in the first week of the year. What I do like about it too, about this particular method, is that I have a lot of goals that I know that I want to achieve. But not all of those goals are like something that I want to start January 1st, you know? So like New Year's resolutions, but I want to get those ideas out on paper, but it's not reasonable for me to start like 20 different things on the first of the year. Like that is just not gonna work. So that's why I like to do it this way, where I spread it out across the year. So like I said, I don't lose sight of those goals and the fact that I wanted to achieve something with them, and I'm able to break them down a lot more and spread them out and then review them every single month to make sure that I am staying on top of the things that I want to do. So that is a little peek into my Notion. Like I said, do plan on doing a little bit more in-depth Notion tour coming very, very soon. So make sure that you stick around for that. But that is my whole planning process, my system of planning, how I keep my day-to-day life organized, achieve my goals, stay on track with everything that I need to be doing. This is how I do it. Please let me know again if you enjoyed this video, if you have any tips, if you have any planning hacks that you love to follow. I love hearing about them. I love hearing people's ideas and ways that you tackle life on a day-to-day basis and keep your head on your shoulders and just make sure that you are doing the things that you want to do and getting through and achieving your accomplishments and all of those kinds of things. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video soon. Bye!